Hello, people. We are going to do this and drop it as a premiere today. You guys know who I am. I'm Lee Cole, and you are
Danny Trio.
Okay. And so, guys, we were going to do a live today, but we decided that this is going to be kind of interesting. We're going to talk about Sammy Gravano and his good buddy, Mikey Scars. And the reason we're going to talk about them, Danny, it's become the new norm now where these guys who are ratting, especially guys of a high level of Sammy Gravano and Mikey Scars, who are now becoming YouTube stars.
Oh, absolutely. It goes along with all the rest of them. Mazza, Calandra, who wasn't even a gangster or a mobster, but and a host of others, Panisi, all of them. This is their out. This is their platform.
And we're going to talk a little bit about each one of these guys, especially Mikey Scars. We're going to really talk about him. And the main reason we're going to talk about Mikey Scars is because his show's starting to take off. So how much of a real gangster was Mikey Scars compared to Sammy Gravano?
Oh, it was night and day. Gravano was your typical goon, hoodlum, tough guy. Mikey Scars was the complete opposite.
And when you say opposite, how would you describe Mikey Scars?
Mikey Scars was not a tough guy. Would he fight? Of course. But Mikey Scars was no typical Cosa Nostra hoodlum where he was out in the street knocking people out. He wasn't that type of gangster.
And then when we go through his testimony, we do read one thing. Despite not being in the streets and stuff, he still witnessed some death. He talks about Bobby Borriello, how he seen him put in the ambulance the day he was shot. And so he was still around death, even though he wasn't a killer himself, right?
Oh, absolutely. He was also charged with a couple of conspiracies to commit murder. So he, in that life, you're around that. And he happened to be around it pretty much.
And Fred Weiss was one of those guys. Pretty much his job was to watch the yard and pretend he was a worker in the yard. And in his confession, he pretty much he fingered a couple guys in that murder. And if you look, here's Sammy's list of murders. Okay, not murders. I'm sorry. This is his list of people he ratted on. And if you look at their names and if you look at their ranks, he ratted on a lot of high-ranking guys that went to prison, some who died in prison and some who went for the rest of their life and are still in there, Danny. And even a cop, NYPD cop, union heads.
A friend of mine. But, listen, that these two guys systematically crucified we know as the American Cosa Nostra or the Gambino crime family. They put so many people away, particularly Mikey Scars, who the prosecution said was landmarkish, historical. He used adjectives to describe what Mikey Scars did, and he put away his testimony was legendary.
And I was told by a person that was very close to the trial who had certain people in her family put away because of it, or attempted to a couple were put away, that he was a fantastic witness.
Well, Mikey Scars, again, was, a slight above the rest. He went to college. He spent, I think, a couple of years in college. He was a mafia figure, a captain of the Gambino crime family, but he also had a little bit of sense. And I'm not trying to glorify Mikey Scars because Mikey Scars is what he is, a rat. He informed on some people, a lot of people, and for that I have no respect for. The reason we're talking about this particular guy is because it's interesting to draw similarities and conclusions on both of these guys.
Yeah, and the fact that Sammy Gravano came on to this format basically known as YouTube. He took off right away. Mikey Scars seems to finally be getting into the flow of it. And these two guys, that's what separates them from like your Jimmy Calandras. Jimmy Calandra, we know he was basically just a guy in the street. And who's the other guy, Danny? The one that we interviewed before. What's his name again?
Oh, Horsehead or Horse Teeth?
Yeah, what's his name? We got his name on.
Horse. Yeah, what's his name? Jesus Christ, what the fuck is his name? Well, anyway, it's inconsequential.
Wild Bill's kid.
Oh, yeah, there he is. Yeah.
So we're talking about Cthulhu here. And, you know, when you come onto these, we talk about this. When you come onto these formats, you got to have it or not it. You look at a guy like Cthulhu, he doesn't really have it. You look at a guy like, probably because he wasn't it on the street. But then you look at a guy like Mikey Scars and the way he speaks and the way he lets things out, he comes off like he's telling the truth about everything.
Well, he probably is. You know, I'm sure he embellishes on some things as well as everybody else. But, you know, he was a guy in a position to know pretty much everything what was going on, pretty much.
And we have some interesting stories about Mikey Scars. And once again, we are not glorifying Mikey Scars. Mikey Scars is what he is. He's a man that put a lot of people away. He was a mean man to his wife. Pretty much had a second family. So Mikey Scars also talks about other gangsters' second families. I don't think you should do that, Mikey, because you have a second family too. So let's remember that. And we'll get into that a little bit, but not too much. Okay, who is this guy right here? Give us a rundown on him.
Well, he was nicknamed Joe the Baker. I believe his name was Joseph Generoso. He was partners or an owner, half of an owner of Royal Crown Bakery.
Okay, and how was he tied? Now, someone tried to strong arm him, if I'm correct.
Well, yeah, correct. The talk or the rumor was that Wild Bill was going to shake him down, and apparently he knew Mikey Scars, Joe the Baker, and he went to Mikey Scars, and obviously Mikey Scars, got in contact with Wild Bill and said, "Listen, this guy's with me." So, out of respect, Wild Bill stepped off, and Joe Generoso, essentially with his partners, I think he had two Galgano brothers as well as partners, but they essentially became part of the Gambino crime family in a sense that they had to pay for protection.
And it kind of gives you an idea that Mikey Scars actually was very well connected. People could say what they want, but this man was the real thing. If he can get a hold of a guy like Wild Bill and say, "Look, Wild Bill, he's with me," and Wild Bill's going to respect him, that means he earned respect.
Well, no question about it. You got to also understand, he was a made man in another crime family. So right off the bat, if he was a civilian, they would have told him to go fuck himself, kill him, or do whatever. But, obviously, I don't know what his rank was at that time. I don't think he was a captain as of yet, but he could have been. He stepped up and said, "Listen." So Wild Bill had to respect that.
And, and the more I study this guy, I became very surprised myself, Danny, because, you see a lot of guys come onto these formats to claim that there's something they're not. We see them all every day, many of them. And then you got a couple that come onto these formats and are somebody like Sammy and Mikey Scars. And do you think that we're going to see more guys like them that actually were at their level?
Oh, absolutely. This is a platform and an avenue for these guys to get involved in. And it's simple to do. And there's a lot of fanboys and there's a lot of people that gravitate to this stuff because, they think everything these guys say is the gospel. And again, these guys are a lot of these guys that gravitate to these informants or rat channels are essentially that.
And if you take someone like Black Hand Mafia, RJ, he doesn't really seem like a guy that platform rats and stuff. He seems to have taken a liking to this guy and they have a very good rapport. I think that's what separates him right now. He's not like these other rats where they get involved with the wrong people.
Well, Lee, I think that everybody on this platform is some sort of opportunist, and the opportunity landed in RJ's lap, however it did, and I think he struck up a rapport with Mikey, and they have a channel. Um, I have no ill will towards RJ. I think he's a fantastic historian, mob historian, and if this is the avenue he chooses, that's his business, and more power to him. That's not mine.
Now, Mikey made a lot of money on the streets, without a doubt, but he also had no money on the streets, without a doubt. And he even claims that himself because he had a horrible gambling habit. On weekends, they say that sometimes you could lose $150,000 on football games, Danny.
Well, listen, you got to understand, a lot of these guys, that's what they did, whether it be horses, sports, whatever it was. A lot of these guys were degenerate gamblers. They made money and they spent money, and that was their life.
And then we could talk about the fact that not only that, he was kind of a strange guy when it came to certain movies.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you want to name that movie and talk about it.
Well, there's I've never seen it talked about too often. It's called a movie called Clockwork Orange, and apparently Mikey had some fixation on this movie. Essentially, this movie is about a young guy, young criminal that wanted to be brainwashed to reform other criminals, and for exchange for like shorter sentences. So the writing is on the wall, I think, in comparison to what he was and what he became. Essentially, my take on it was, a rat in the making. Now, I understand that Mikey would watch this movie 3-4 times a week, so he had a fixation for this movie.
I could not watch it more than once, Danny. Have you ever watched it?
I've never watched it. When I heard about this particular movie, I Googled it, and it's kind of a weird movie.
But it's a cult classic. A lot of people have the fixation that Mikey Scars has for a movie like that.
Right.
Which is kind of weird. But, I wonder if he still watches it.
Yeah, well, I don't think he needs to watch it anymore. He became an informant, and that's essentially what this movie. That's why I guess he watched it. What can I tell you? I don't understand why he'd watch it, other than the fact that it has something to do with him being an informant. I could be wrong, but why would you watch that movie that many times? It's weird to me.
Now, these guys in the street. The difference between Sammy Gravano and Mikey Scars is Mikey was more friendly. He had a bigger circle around him than Sammy. Would you say that's pretty much right?
Yeah, I definitely would. Again, you got two guys. One was a captain, one was an underboss. Sammy the Bull Gravano was not a people person. Sammy the Gravano was an opportunist, and he was essentially a guy that would take what he wanted. And what I mean by that, he would lie and manipulate and embellish any way he could to get what he wanted. Hence, telling John Gotti certain things and having people killed, which I certainly believe Gravano made up a lot of stories to get a lot of guys killed. I don't think they were legitimate, and I think he did that for his own self-serving purposes. A guy like Mikey Scars was a manipulator. He wasn't that type of gangster. He would rather, do construction, extortion, shakedowns, assaults, that kind of stuff. Not to say that he wasn't involved in murders, because he absolutely was. But I think he took a different approach on how to make money. He was involved in a lot of strip clubs and what have you. But I think the similarities are different, but the goal was the same.
And if you look at both of these guys, they both had a big impact, a negative impact on the Gotti family, the Gotti family took these guys in underneath their wing, gave them a very serious part in the family, and they both ratted out the Gottis, and they both sent Gottis to prison. I mean, we all know that Sammy Gravano sent John to prison. That's a known thing. But, we very rarely do we hear about Peter Gotti. Peter Gotti spent the rest of his life in prison and died in prison because of Mikey Scars.
100%.
So, you think about, okay, Peter Gotti, we don't really think about him too much, but he took his sentence and died in prison like a man. And then you have someone like Mikey Scars, who's young. What was he looking at? 8 years or something, Danny?
I don't know what the time frame of his sentence would have or could have been. There's a lot of discrepancies on how much time he could have got or should have gotten. The fact of the matter is he was presented with a crime that he committed or was involved in, and he took the easy way out. He became a rat. And, whether he has remorse or not, the fact of the matter is he's a rat. And that's what people remember him by. And, he put his best friend away in jail, John Gotti Jr., or he testified against John. They were friends for 20 years. So what can you say? You got on the stand, pointed at John Gotti Jr., and said what he did. You can't, anybody that admires or gravitates to somebody that can do that, in my opinion, is kind of fucked up in the head, if you ask me.
And they still, and people have to remember, if they did this on such a high level once, they would do it their whole entire life. And Marie Fabiano, she had an opinion of her husband. What was that opinion?
Well, I believe, and people might disagree, but I believe she thought he was a rat in the making. She said it repeatedly. She married him when she was 19 years old against the wishes of her family, particularly her father and her brother. They knew who he was or what he was going to be. And they essentially told her to stay away from him. Mikey sat down with them apparently and confronted them. I'm a good guy. I'm not here to do anything to your daughter and or your sister. I want to take her out to dinner. And the rest is history. I think Tony Marie says, some really good points on Mikey. She would know. She was married to him. He wasn't a nice guy.
Let's put this up real. I have a couple of quick videos I want to play. They're shorts that I put up on my channel once before in case people haven't seen them. This is the first one right here, and it has Marie Fabiano talking about her husband, her ex-husband.
So to get him mad, I said, you know what? I should have slept with that. I should have went home with that guy tonight. I should have slept with that guy tonight. And I might have even said it even nastier to get him. And he slapped me in my face. Wow. Slapped me, his whole palm. He cracked me right across my face that my jaw was killing me. I was in shock. I couldn't believe it. And then the next day, obviously I was mad, but I stood. I never told my Uncle Georgie, who was alive at the time. I never mentioned it to my brother, nothing. And this was before they went away. And the next day he goes, it wasn't that bad. I didn't hit you that bad. Come on, I'm gonna take you to New York. We'll go buy you clothes. We'll go clothes.
Hit your mic.
Danny, when I put that short up, a lot of people had the remarks that, well, she threatened to cheat on him. But
listen,
he was cheating on her every day.
Listen, in that life, Cosa Nostra, whatever you want to call it, these guys on the street are street guys. And it's not abnormal for them to pick up their hands and slap their wife, their girlfriend, whatever it is. That's what they did. I'm not saying all of them, but a lot of them did. Mikey Scars happened to be an abuser. He should have been a more of an abuser in the streets, slapping guys than women. That's my opinion. I'm not saying anything different, but he should have went out in the street and knocked some guys out instead of knocking Tony Marie out. And that's not the first time that he did it. But, it is what it is.
And Dunleavy, a famous journalist for the Post, stated that he got beat up 3 times, never wanted revenge, never seeked revenge. And some other things happened to him. His brother got killed. He kind of let it just go by and never made an attempt to revenge that. So as smart of a gangster as he seemed to be when it came to finances and stuff, he didn't have, like, if you smack Sammy, we know what happened when when the biker hit Sammy, Sammy went to kill him and killed the kid too, Alan Kaiser. So Sammy, if you hit him, he's coming back at you. This guy just let it slide, Danny.
Well, when it came to his brother Robert, he was told to stand back. He was told not to do anything. But, you know, I don't know. If my brother or my sister or somebody got killed, I'm looking for revenge. I don't care if I get killed or end up in prison for the rest of my life. That's what I'm going to do. Listen, Mikey understood Cosa Nostra. He was a good student of mob life. And, you know, he knew what he could get away with and what he couldn't. But Mike was never a tough guy. Never was. He wasn't a Sammy Gravano. Sammy Gravano was a killer. Sammy Gravano wanted to be known as that. And that's what Sammy Gravano did. Did Sammy Gravano kill people just to kill them? 100%. Did he lie and say they needed to be killed? 100%. He's a scumbag, you know, and, you know, I think that he shouldn't have a place on this platform simply because he's a mutt. He's a piece of shit. And any rat that essentially shouldn't have a place on this platform simply because their premise is they were a captain, an underboss, a soldier, and they're coming on here and they get mad when people attack them.
That's exactly what happens. And I got another short I want to play.
Do you consider yourself a rat?
Absolutely not.
Do you consider yourself a rat?
I don't consider myself, no, I don't. I consider myself,
Do you consider what you did snitching?
definitely not.
Do you consider yourself a rat?
You know what? How am I going to sit here and say I'm not when I did these things? But I'll tell you this much. Maybe I'm a rat with an excuse.
This weak moment was me breaking down after I was broken, put on the shelf, with everything that was going on leading up to this. I had that weak moment. It sounds like I'll make it going easy on myself. I'll say what it really was. That was a fucking punk move.
Wow.
And I went and looked at the mirror in the bathroom afterwards, and I didn't like what I seen, but it was too late. And that's, again, what I have to live with.
You know, a lot of people say, well, he feels sorry for himself, but there's still a bunch of guys in prison because of him. And they probably look in a little mirror under a wall, and it's a little see-through, it shows your shiny face. That's about it. So at least he has an opportunity, Danny, to look at a mirror, don't you think?
Yeah, well, hey, listen, he has to live with that the rest of his life. And that's my premise to why these guys shouldn't be on this platform. And again, it's my opinion. You know, any of these guys, everybody has an excuse to why they did what they did. You saw the video you just played, with the exception of Mikey Scars, who seems to own the fact that he ratted because he's a rat. He's a piece of shit. He's a punk. He's a scumbag. All the rest point their finger on the squirrel made me do it. John Gotti looked at me wrong. Whatever. There's always an excuse to rat. One guy believed the fucking ghost came down and anointed him, and whatever the fuck it is. But they're all comic book characters for the most part. They have to live with what they have to do. I think possibly, Mikey Scars may be the only one that possibly feels bad. I have no idea. But, you know, all the rest blame somebody else for what they did.
And only Mikey Scars knows if he feels bad, but he's enjoying his freedom. It still goes, and a lot of guys are still in prison. Or the guys that he put away are getting out, and they're very old. Their lives are over. They're basically being let out of prison to die. And that's what happens with a lot of these guys. Let's see here, Danny. Okay, so also with Mikey Scars, Danny, do you think he's going to become as big as Sammy Gravano?
I have no idea. Possibly. I mean, apparently his show is a good show, and a lot of people are tuning into it. Possibly, maybe not, maybe so. I have no idea. But it seems like a lot of these rats do very well on these platforms. So I'm sure that he'll get his share of good stuff coming his way.
And I noticed the difference between Sammy and Mikey is that Sammy does 95% of Sammy's stuff is sitting in a chair and telling a story, where Mikey's actually having a back and forth with RJ.
Yeah, and that seems to be working, and I think it's it's a pretty good thing for them, as opposed to just sitting at a chair telling story after story after story. He's more interacting. RJ can, bring him in a different direction, ask different questions, and get different answers. As Sammy is just trying off the top of his head, what is he, 80 years old? How many stories can this guy possibly remember at this stage of his life? Not only that, he's contradicted himself a lot of times. And, again, Schmiegel should be off of YouTube, and he should be sitting in a park somewhere feeding squirrels.
Danny, the rumor has it he's about to become a major movie star in Hollywood.
Well, I don't know, major. I don't think he can even read. But whatever. Again, he makes his family and his life relevant and financially secure, while you have other families that are scripping and scraping to pay their bills. And and one family where they lost a young kid, Alan Kaiser, and there should not be a platform for him to make any kind of money, as far as I'm concerned, when he killed an innocent kid. That's my opinion.
Yeah, and we all know the story about Alan Kaiser. We did a video on that. Well, I did a video a long time ago. We've had many more things done about Alan Kaiser. And that's Sammy's thing. I mean, I'll tell you what, I think they're both bad men. I think that Mikey Scars reminds me of a lot of Michael Franzese. Smart. They've done stuff, but they're not really like a Sammy Gravano, that type of gangster. But they seem to make a lot of excuses too. The fact of the matter is, yeah. I'm sorry. Go.
No. That's the life, Lee. They are the biggest liars pathologically. They even lie amongst each other to make them better than anyone else, or they try to present themselves. That's the life. They're maybe many years ago, before I was born, there was some loyalty or whatever, but this life is full of disloyal, egotistical people that want to try to do their part to get whatever they want. They're opportunists. And the only ones that really make any real money are the ones that are, liked and higher ups, captains, capos, whatever, consiglieres and whatnot. These guys are a rootless bunch. They've always been whatever family you want to refer to. And that's what they are.
And if you look at them, here's a big difference between Sammy Gravano and along with Mikey Scars. Sammy Gravano has taken the low road. He basically is attacked every Gotti. He's even attacked the wife. He attacks the kids. Everybody. Whereas if you look at Mikey Scars during his videos, he doesn't attack them. A matter of fact, he kind of praises them. I think that's a big difference between the two of them, ain't it?
Well, what is he going to attack? He ratted on the Gambino family, Gotti's, and a lot of other people. Listen, he has no excuse to go after the Gotti's. The Gotti's didn't make him rat. Nobody made anybody rat. These people were presented an opportunity to get out of jail, monopoly, if you will, a free get out of jail card if they, tell what they know about Cosa Nostra. And that's what they did. They made a conscious choice to become a rat, and that's what they did. So everybody that wants to jump on the bandwagon and, talk about the Gottis, that's what makes them relevant. Always having the Gotti name in their mouth, John Alite, Panisi, Gravano, all these people, want to do that. And hey, listen, if they didn't have the Gottis, who else would they talk about?
And you got Sammy Gravano, who was literally mocking the mother the way she was acting after her son died.
Listen, I'm going to say this, and I don't give a shit what anybody says. You could say what Gravano is, but Gravano is a punk and a coward. Anybody that wants to do that and go after a woman like that, and I'm not saying because it's John Gotti's wife or any of the Gotti family. I'm talking generally. He's a fucking punk. That's what he is. and he has a platform to talk about people. But then when you want to talk about him, he gets all these little minions start saying, "Oh, don't talk about Sammy. Sammy is a punk." And I don't want to hear these. Oh, if he was in your, what is he going to do? What is Sammy going to do? I'm sure when he goes,
he's going to rip his diaper off and throw it at you.
I'm sure when he goes to the fucking bathroom, he wipes his ass like a woman. Well, he's a punk. That's what he is. You could say what you want about Sammy Gravano and say he was a killer and he was this and he was that, but he's on fucking YouTube talking about people. He's a real tough guy, right?
And he's talking about the family that he basically destroyed.
And again, all these people are going to come on here and say, "Oh, John Gotti made him rat." What about the other people he ratted on? Did they make him rat? So listen, right. I don't believe it.
Let me put up that list. How many of those people? You had people, a New York detective. You had union officials. You had other families. You had the people. You had Victor Areno. You had John Riggi. Is that how you say his last name?
Riggi. You had a bunch of guys. Anybody can find that list and look at it. The fact of the matter is that Sammy Gravano took the easy way out because he didn't want to go to jail. Forget about he was going to get killed. He was going to get something shoved up his ass. Whatever you want to say. The fact of the matter is he knew what was going to happen to him. He was going away for life, period. He didn't want to do that. So he made a conscious choice, like everybody else. And it's that simple. You can't slice it any other way. You can't say the sky was black, John Gotti was on a tape, his sister was running down the block naked. You can't say none of that bullshit. The fact of the matter is, Sammy Gravano, along with all the other rats, made a decision to become what they are. And now they come on YouTube and they want to act like they're tough guys and they're this, that. They're all cowards. And I'm sorry, Mikey Scars is a fucking coward, period.
Yes. You can't say otherwise, Danny. Listen, Mikey Scars might be the least of the worst, but the fact is, when you look at what he put away, he's just as bad as Sammy.
Again, I'll go back from the beginning of the video. The prosecution said it was historical. That is the adjective that he used. Legendary. Mikey Scars eloquently got on a stand and just went to work. And he put away good people. And he knows he put away good people. You know what I'm saying? But the fact of the matter is you can't diminish who he is, what he did, just because he has a likable personality. He's a fucking coward and a rat. That's what he is.
And I hope that he's worked things out with his son. I'm not going to get into that.
I'm sure he did. I'm sure he has. I mean, hey, listen, time heals a lot of things, and hopefully, he has a good rapport with his son. And if he does, hey, listen, God bless him. That's all.
Well, I'm going to play something right now. It's it was just made on October 10th. I found it very interesting. I don't know these people, but I know that they went through hell. And one of them is Tony Marie Fabiano and Sharon McDonald. So I'm going to play this video to give you an idea what they're talking about when we try to glorify people like Mikey Scars. Listen to what these people went through with those gangsters people. 1 second, please.
No sound. Hit your mic.
Now, did you hear the video when it was playing?
No.
Okay, I know what I did wrong. I'll take care of it right now.
Okay.
Okay, thanks for letting me know that. Stop screen. Okay. Sorry, people, we're going to replay that 1 second. There was no sound on that. So that's because when I put it up there, I didn't do it properly. I'm going to do it properly right now. There we go. Okay, tell me if you don't know.
I don't hear it, Lee.
That's weird. I put the thing on and everything, Danny. I'm gonna
All
try
right.
one. I'm gonna try one more time. 1 second. Okay. Well, it figures that we have a little issue with that. But okay, 1 sec. Here we go. Take this off of here. I'm gonna try it one more time, people. I just want you to hear this. If I don't get it this time, that's it. I'm not trying again. Share system. Okay. Microsoft Edge. Okay. Okay, let's see. I'm going to try this one, Danny. Let me know right away. This way I don't waste my time.
True stories from the
Good.
What attracted me to the lifestyle? Well, the power, the quote-unquote glamour, the excitement. I ended up marrying Vincent Fiore, who was involved with the Gambinos. Then not soon after that, I ended up in a relationship with someone else named Joe Cali, who was a member of the Genovese crime family. Joe Cali was extremely abusive. Yeah, I had to actually leave the state of New York to get away from that life.
I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. I was married to Michael DeLeonardo, AKA Mikey Scars. After quite a while, when I was married to Michael, he became the captain of the Gambino crime family under John Gotti Jr. Wound up having a double life, cheating on me, having a child with another woman. He also cheated on me with Carla Fasciola from the Mob Wives. He was with her for 2 years while he was married to me, and I realized, being married to Michael, that this life isn't what I thought it was.
My advice to any young woman or any woman, I don't care how old they are, who is attracted to that life, don't do it. Run.
Pretty interesting, huh?
Yeah, I just want to give a shout out to both them ladies, and they're welcome on our show at any time. So Tony Marie Fapiano, Sharon McDonald, anytime you want to come on our program, we'd be more than happy to have you. If you do see this, please contact Lee. We'd like to have you on.
Or Danny. Boy, that sounds like we just put that up there for that purpose, Danny. Well, actually, no, I found it actually very interesting because, you know, we get set in our minds, but these are women that live with these guys, especially a guy like Mikey Scars that comes off like Mr. Nice Guy. Not a very nice guy.
Well, yeah, and again, Lee, there's always three sides to a story, but obviously these women touch on personal contact with these people, these men that they were married to, and you know, I don't think they have an axe to grind. I think they're here to tell the truth and to tell, you know, how bad or how good they actually were. And a lot of times, you know, this history of these mobsters, as far as women go, is abuse, and whether it be mental or violent, that's the life.
And she felt, Marie Fapiano always felt that that Mikey had the ability to become a rat from the very beginning.
I believe so. Correct.
Okay. Well, that, you know, that's interesting stuff. And the main reason we did this show today, Danny, is because, you know, when you look at the thumbnail, what I'm trying to say is you have these guys here, and these guys are as big as you get in the mob. But the difference between them and, let's say, someone like John Gotti, someone like other gangsters that don't rat, even Tommy Crotty, killer, serial killer. But if he came out, do you think that we would see Tommy Crotty on here talking about his exploits in life?
I don't believe he would, you know, but again, I don't know. But, you know, that's just, it is what it is. I think these rats have some kind of, I don't know what the word is, criteria that they need to assert with people out here that are mob groupies or mob fans, or just to have some kind of relevancy again in their life to talk about what made them become or in that life or what they became.
Do you feel like when they're back on YouTube, Danny, and they get these groups and followings, that they actually feel like they're back in the mob again?
I believe so. And subconsciously, I think they miss it, and I think that they, some weird way, try to normalize what they did.
And, you know, look at Sammy Gravano. He has over 500,000 followers. Michael Francis has a million followers. And of course, Mikey Scars just started off, but he's up near 10,000 now, and he's probably going to double that within the next couple months. John Panisi, he has a bunch. I think it's unfair to these guys to even put John Panisi in the same breath as Mikey Scars and Sammy Gravano. Would you say that?
Well, listen, they all have a common denominator. They're all rats. Who's worse? Who's better? The fact of the matter is, Panisi's another fucking piece of shit, women abuser, big shot. He was what was he made for 4 or 5 years? He talks on his program like, you know, he's been a gangster for fucking 50 years. He's another jerk off. So, you know, he's another fucking tough guy with a woman and everything like that. So, you know, fuck him.
Yes, that's enough with the swearing. We got to get monetized.
Sorry.
Okay. So yeah, and I did a video on this, and he's just an oddball because he's seen ghosts and all that. And I don't think it's the one thing that he does have in common with Mikey Scars. He kind of uses the same lines when it comes to saying why he ratted, and they both were looking at small sentences compared to a lot of these gangsters that were looking at 100 years. I mean, these guys were not, they were looking at sentences where they're going away for 8, 9 years. I mean, a real gangster can do that standing on their head, can't they?
Well, again, it goes to their character and their foundation. Listen, I don't know what was in their mind or their psyche on why or how or should they did it, why they shouldn't have. The fact of the matter is they were presented with something. They weighed the odds and they said, if I do this, I'm going to walk out of here in 2 years as opposed to 50 years. All right. So they took the easy way out and they ratted on people that they were close to. And, you know, as far as I'm concerned, they're punks and cowards. I mean, you can't look at it any other way. I know you're going to have people come in here and say, oh, well, if you were sentenced to 50 years. Listen, you're in that life. You take an oath. Now you want to become a sissy and say you don't want to do the time. You're a coward. You're a punk.
And people, just so you know, with videos like this, we basically make our money off the commercials. So if you're going to watch the commercial, please watch the whole part of the commercial. But if you can donate, underneath here there are two sites you can go to. One is PayPal, and the other one is Cash App. Cash App, they no longer accept the link, so you got to put the name in. And while you're watching this on Premiere, you can also donate to the video. And we like to do it this way. I'll be totally honest with you, because when we do videos this way, Danny, I feel like they're much more valuable. You know, lives are nice, don't get me wrong. And doing the first 20 minutes, 25 minutes of lives are good when we do a story. But it's easy to get away from the story when you're doing a live.
I agree.
And we're planning on doing a live tomorrow or Wednesday. And Danny, would you like to anything else that you have to say of anything that's going on without getting out of bounds?
No, not really. I just want to say that there's going to be some interesting things coming up in the next week, maybe 10 days tops. You're going to see a lot of different things that are going to come to fruition. You know, that's all I got to say. You know, there's a lot of stupid people on these shows, these channels, and they tend to think that they're smarter than everybody. And so, listen, I'd like to be schooled by a scholar. So we're going to see how smart people are in this genre. And, you know, I'm waiting for this to happen impatiently. But, you know, things take time, not a lot of time. And I'll be happy with the end result.
Yes. What we could say is sometimes people think they're untouchable, but nobody in this world's untouchable, are they, Danny?
No, not at all. But hey, listen, everybody's got an opinion. Everybody thinks they know what they're doing. And, you know, when people do things that they're comfortable doing with no recourse at the end of it, I think they should think twice before they say things. But
And Danny,
that's
I'd
my
like to
opinion.
ask you another thing. People like to use terms that if you do something to defend your life, style, if someone's threatening you, they have to understand we're not gangsters. We're content creators.
Lee, obviously a lot of these guys on these channels, all of them pretty much, I don't think would ever approach somebody in a threatening manner, because I believe that every one of them are cowards. And I truthfully believe, I actually truthfully believe that if any one of them singularly were approached, I really don't think they're going to do very much. I think they come on these shows, these platforms, and make themselves bigger than who they are. And I think that the end result, if anything did happen, they would be put in a position where they couldn't do much for themselves. And I firmly believe that. It's unfortunate that a lot of people live thousands of miles away, in different states, and they feel comfortable behind their computer in their home, where they think nothing is going to happen to them. And they have some legitimacy to that. But what happens if something does?
Yes.
And what happens? What are they? What are the first thing they're going to do if one or more than one get attacked? What are they going to do? I know what they're going to do.
Yes.
So it's easy to sit behind a computer and say and do things that are at least questionable, at worst criminal. When you're a person that it's being done to, whether it's you, me, somebody else, and nothing happens after a couple of times that they do it, they feel like nothing is going to happen, and that's fine. You got guys on these platforms that consistently and routinely come on every fucking morning and do the same thing every day. But my question is this: I don't care if you have a gun, I don't care if you have a bat, because none of you are tough guys. If somebody did happen to run into one of his, what would you do? Really, all that stuff that these guys talk about on YouTube, I would love to see it in person. I'd like to be a camera in the street or a fly on the wall. I would love to see what they would do. And I'm telling you, Lee, I'm really telling you the truth. They wouldn't do nothing. I tell you what I believe they would do if they got hurt or assaulted. The first thing they would do is call 911.
And what do you think they would do? Like, say, for an example, Danny, say one state put a warrant out for somebody in another state, and they didn't show up at the court hearing in that state, and that state puts a warrant out for their arrest, where they literally get arrested in the state and get transferred. What do you think they would do then?
Well, I don't know what they would do. Obviously they're going to have to cross that bridge when they get to it. But the fact of the matter is, if anybody is served with paperwork, whether it's a felony or misdemeanor, whatever it is, and let's just say that they have to appear in a different state and they fail to do so, then obviously, as you know, the law will put out a failure to appear, and that's a warrant for an arrest. So anybody that thinks that they can rip up papers or not answer the door or say they don't live here, that's okay. That's okay.
And if it's a criminal,
but it goes.
And how this works, Danny, I'm sorry, but the criminal charge is this way, and I know this because this happened to me. Basically, what happens is you get something in the mail that says you're being charged criminally, and you got to come to court and show up. And when you don't,
I don't think it comes through the mail. I think. Right. I think they're served either through a law enforcement.
Mine came through the mail. Mine was felonies.
Well, I've never heard of that.
Yeah. Mine was.
If you're served.
Yeah. Well, mine came through the mail, and I read it, and it said that you got a court date on this date, and you need to show up. I didn't show up. They put a warrant out for my arrest. It took me six
that's-
years,
that's-
Davey, to clear that up. 6 years.
Right. Right. Well, again, if any municipality orders you to go to court for a crime that was being convicted, that you're going to be indicted on, and you fail to appear, I don't care if you're in Hawaii or New Jersey, and they show up or somebody serves you and you fail, if you have a lawyer, your lawyer is going to, advise you to appear. And when you get to that state or wherever it is you're going, you need to acquire a representative, a lawyer, to defend you in the case that you're involved in. And if you don't, if you're indigent, I would assume that whatever state you're going to would adopt a legal aid or public defender to represent you. But
unless you're bragging,
I don't know.
I'm sorry. Unless you're bragging how much money you make out in the public,
Well,
it's going to be hard to get.
that the court would, right? You would have to prove your finances if you don't have that to hire a private attorney. You would have to prove that you don't have the finances, and they would look into your finances to prove or disprove what you have or what you don't have.
And what's the going rate on a lawyer now? Say an average to a little bit high type of lawyer. What's the average retainer nowadays, Danny?
Well, I guess it depends on the crime. It could be anywhere from $2,500 to $10,000, depending on how much legal work is going to be ensued, and how many times they have to go to court. That's they can go to court 8 times. They can get continuance. They can get continuance. They get all that costs a lot of money. It's not what do they get? $400-500 an hour, $300 an hour. What do they get?
There's just some things you can't avoid, and some people think they're smarter than what they are. And unfortunately, we've gotten to this point. We're not going to mention no names no more because it's not allowed. But we just are discussing that part. Danny, I really enjoyed you doing this video today. And
I enjoyed your company. Thank you, Lee. We did a good job tonight.
And we did this early. Another reason we're not doing a live today is because the Yankees are on tonight. So I'm hoping that by the time that I talk again, we could say the Yankees didn't blow another game in the last inning and lost. Because the whole reality, this should have been over 2 games ago. But we'll see tonight. But Danny, thank you so much for coming on. I'm going to drop this premiere. And let me just take this off. And 1 minute. Everybody take care. Please sub to this channel. We are pushing toward 10,000. We're almost at 8,000. Please sub to the channel if you're not subbed. I really appreciate it. And please hit the like button.